Now, there's lots of different reasons why our bodies hold on to a particular amount of fat, and why our bodies stay at a particular level of weight. And there's lots more that goes on behind the scenes. It's not just a simple calculation of calories in and calories out. And I'm so sorry, I apologise on behalf of all health professionals. If you've ever been told this, if you've just been told that you just need to eat less and exercise more, because I know that there are many, many thousands of people out there for whom that equation is just not true. There's just so much more to the equation than just calories in and calories out. So I'm going to run through the basics with you. And from here, you can feel free to do your own homework and your own research, or you can journey with me further, and I'll tell you a bit more about that at the end of this video. So when we're talking about how to maintain a particular level of body weight, or how to lose body fat, there's a few things that come into play. Now, we've all heard about metabolism, and metabolism as being a key factor in what helps to determine the difference between two people who might eat exactly the same food. They might eat exactly the same quantities of that same food, and yet one person is going to be challenged with weight gain or fat gain, and another person might be able to stay at the exact same body fat level, or maybe even drop fat at the same intake, same activity level. And, you know, we have some throwaway lines and some throwaway phrases, and metabolism is definitely one of those. Now, metabolism is a very tricky and intricate concept, and there's a lot of factors that play a role in how your body is going to be utilising the calories and the food and the nutrients that you eat, and how it's going to be distributing those nutrients and that energy, and how it's going to be utilising that energy or storing it for later. Now, the nervous system plays a really big role. So this is, you know, how much stress you're under, how much sleep and rest you're getting. So it's not just how many hours in bed with your eyes shut, it's also how much downtime do you get during your day and during your week. If you've got a stressful life, then you need to build in lots of active and passive recovery. So lying down on the couch and reading a book, or going for a gentle walk, going for a massage, doing things that help to repair your nervous system, allow your nervous system to resettle after big periods of stress. How much energy you have, and that's not just, you know, that felt sense of energy and vitality that you might have, you know, at the start of a day or when you're feeling excited, but at the cellular level, how much energy do your cells have, and are they functioning at their optimal level, or are they kind of limping along? Your hormones play a big role, and there's so many hormones that play a role in metabolism. Thyroid gets a really big mention in a lot of different places around, that if you've done some research, you'll have heard a lot of people talking about thyroid health. But we also need to look at your testosterone levels, your estrogen levels, your DHEA levels, what's happening with your insulin regulation, and there's others as well that play a role. And these can have a massive impact on not just how much energy you have, not just how much fat you're going to be burning or storing, but they can also affect your appetite and many other aspects of how your body is able to maintain a level body fat amount. Muscle mass is also really important. The more muscle you have, muscle is a very metabolically active tissue, and it uses up a lot of energy, a lot of calories. And so the more muscle you have, the easier it is for you to eat more calories and maintain your weight. Some people find it challenging to be able to put on muscle, and so there's some tricks and tips that we've got there for that as well. Your overall activity levels obviously play into how your metabolism works, and of course your appetite regulation. So whether you've got a really weak appetite, you can go all day and forget to eat, or whether you're just food obsessed and, you know, constantly planning the next meal and constantly thinking about food, all of these things play into this idea of metabolism and how you're going to be able to, where you're going to be able to find the wins in terms of supporting your fat loss journey. Calories in and calories out, it does matter. If you're sitting around at home on the couch, you might be working from home, sitting at your desk, and that might be all that you do for the day. Nothing necessarily wrong with that if that's appropriate for where you're at in your health at the moment, but that's not going to match very well with a 4,000 calorie diet. And so at that gross level, calories do matter. But if we're talking about normal levels of activity or even low levels of activity, and we're talking about calories, someone who's eating less than 2,000 calories a day, then we've got to drill down deeper to look at, well, what's actually coming in with those calories. Having 2,000 calories a day of chocolate biscuits is going to have a very different effect on your body than a balanced diet with meat and fish, vegetables and fruit and rice. That's going to have a very different impact on your body to have 2,000 calories of a wide variety of fresh food and home prepared food versus 2,000 calories of junk food. So it's not just about the calories. We've got to drill down and look at the macronutrients. What are the levels of carbohydrate, protein, and fat that's in the food that you're eating? And do those levels of macronutrients match what your body needs at this point in your life? And we can talk more in so much detail about carbohydrates and protein and fat and when each of those nutrients is important. We can't just cut carbs as a whole food group and imagine that everyone is going to do well on that approach. Some people are going to do well in certain periods of their life, but it's not necessarily going to be an approach that's going to suit you for your whole life either. The same with fat. There's implications with being on a low-fat diet. There's also implications with being on a low-protein diet. So one of the things that I'll talk to you about in my course is how to understand each of those nutrients and how to understand where you're at in your life and which of those nutrients is important to focus on and which ones you probably don't need so much of at the moment, and how to best navigate that for yourself. In terms of calories in, calories out, the other part that's really important is the level of micronutrients that you're getting in your diet. So this is about vitamins and minerals, and it's so much more than can be replaced by just taking a multivitamin. There's also lots of really important anti-inflammatory compounds that we can find, not just in plants, but also in animals as well. And so these are a lot of the bioflavonoids that we have in plants. Lots of spices and herbs have these compounds that can have quite strong anti-inflammatory properties. They can have healing properties. They can support our mood. They can support our immune system. There's so many wonderful things that that our plant friends give to us when we eat them. And there's also a similar variety of really supportive nutrients that we can get when we're eating animal products as well. So lots of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, which is found in things like butter, cheese and eggs, and liver, if you like eating liver as well. So there's some really important nutrients to look at when we're assessing your diet, rather than just looking at, okay, 1,800 calories, that's great, tick the box. We want to know, what are you getting in that 1,800 calories? Are you getting a good wide range of nutrients in your diet? Now, thirdly, and I've just touched on it briefly, the other big part of being able to manage your weight and being able to lose fat is that you need to be able to control your inflammation levels. Now, inflammation can come from a lot of different places. One of the most common places that inflammation comes into our bodies is via the effects of stress. So whether that's externally generated stress, and You know, life just keeps coming at us. Sometimes there are things that are outside of our control. The other part of stress is the internally generated stress. So it's how we respond to what's going on in our life, how we're responding to the people in our life, our co-workers, our family and friends, or even just the conversations that we have inside with ourselves. And there's a lot of stress that can be going on in the body, and we are in control, in a lot more control over how we respond to that internally generated stress. And this is one of the places you can get some big wins in terms of reducing down your levels of inflammation. Your immune system is also a big source of inflammation. So this could be if you have your immune system is responding to foods that you're eating. So for example, if you have strawberries and your skin gets itchy, then that could be an immune system response to strawberries. And that means that that food may not be a good food for you. If it creates inflammation, it can encourage, in particular, it can encourage the body to hold on to extra fluid as a way of protecting against that inflammation. And for some people, that can also promote holding on to fat and the body storing more fat when you're in that inflammatory state. So it's important to keep an eye out for any particular foods that you know don't make you feel good. If you get tummy ache or skin rashes, you might get headaches. There might be certain foods that just make you feel really grumpy. These are foods to identify, and as much as possible remove them from your diet so that your body can just get that rest and let those inflammation levels settle. The other way that your immune system can be throwing off inflammation into your system is if you have any infections. So this could be an acute infection, which might be if you've got a respiratory disease. You could have, you might have gotten a scratch somewhere on your body that's got infected, and you might have an infection, a bacterial infection in that part of your skin. Or it could be it could be something else. It could be more of a chronic infection that you might have in your digestive system or in your reproductive area. There's lots of different places where infections can take hold in the body. And as your body is fighting these infections and your immune system is ramped up to try and fight this infection, that can also, for some people, be enough to prevent fat loss and to prevent your body being able to drop fat and to be able to lose weight. So that's another aspect of your health that's important to look at if you're wanting to be able to get your fat loss happening or get it happening better. The last but not least, as a source of inflammation is just toxicity in your environment and in your diet. So this can come from chemicals that could be in your house, it could be in your workplace. For some people, they can have a really strong hormonal type effect on the body that can upset the balance within your body and make it harder for you to be able to drop fat. Sometimes in the presence of these chemicals, some people can just store lots and lots of fat as a protective mechanism, or you can put on some of that fluid weight that I know that some of you are so familiar with. There can also be chemicals in your food. So in particular, if you're having a lot of processed food in your diet, or if you're eating foods, you know, in the package, on the labels on the back of the package, there can be some information in there around additives and food colours and preservatives and so forth. And for some people, the presence of those compounds can be enough to spark a reaction in your body that just shuts off the possibility of fat loss. So it's important to identify if that might be happening for you. And lucky last, alcohol, other types of, well, especially alcohol, it does have a level of toxicity. It puts a very large burden on your liver in particular, and it just really ties one arm behind your back in terms of your weight loss journey. I know for a lot of my patients over the years, when they have done periods of time of going without alcohol and having 0 alcohol, that very quickly they've lost between about 3 to 5 kilos, which I think is around about, if my maths is right, it's around about 6 to 10 pounds. So it's a fairly significant amount of weight for people to drop in a pretty short period of time, and that can be indicative of your body's inflammation levels going down, your liver being happier and working better. So that's something that I invite you to consider as something that might help to kickstart some fat loss for you if you're looking to get some quick and easy wins, and to get some of those numbers on the scales and on the tape measure shifting fast. That's an easy one there. So that just sums up my brain dump, I guess. And as I said, I've worked with thousands of people over the last 2 decades in my clinic, and seen so many amazing transformations happen. And I've also seen a lot of people hit roadblocks. And as we've worked together to discover what those roadblocks are and how to overcome them, that's how I've built out my knowledge on this area.